We have been talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial a lot on this channel. Some would even say possibly a little bit, and if you do say this, I will ban you from my live chat and from my comments slightly too much. But the reason we've been talking about this is because this case is a situation where principle aligns with legality, yet the left wing is rigidly on the other side, to the point where I think their commentary is bordering on dangerous because their lies about this case, their idea, their pitch that Kyle Rittenhouse is getting away with murder, even though the case is somehow clear that he was a murderer, is in fact dangerous, and that's what we're going to go over today. But before we go on this steady diet of Kyle Rittenhouse content, before we talk about the Young Turks and how they've weight lost their mind, we have a sponsor. I can't even remember what it is. Maybe if I read my script, which I didn't even write, there will be a keto to it with justice. Keto has been in the news a lot in recent years. This is because thousands of people have reported better weight loss and better health due to the fact that they've been taking on keto. However, we on this channel have a bit of a secret weapon, something that literally nobody on planet Earth except for you listening to this right now actually know about. And that is the special keto power over at Keto with Justice. At ketowithjustice.com, we have a premium powdered version of the most ketogenic MCT oil called C8. It helps give you many of the benefits of elevated ketones without having to completely follow the rigid guidelines of the keto diet. Within weeks of taking this powder, users report 3 amazing side effects. The first is a suppression in appetite, which makes it way easier for you to lose weight. The second is more energy, so you're more emboldened to go on and take on the day. And third, users report having better mental focus. But don't take my word for it. Take Keto with Justice and test it out for yourself. Go to my custom URL, ketowithjustice.com, and you, because it's Black Friday, it's the month of November, can get a very special discount, 51% off this 60-day money-back guarantee product. What do you even have to lose even with all these great perks and a money-back guarantee and an over 50% discount? Come on, go to ketowithjustice.com. Honestly, I might have to apologize for the way that I transitioned into that ad. I'm not going to, but at some point, I might have to apologize. So, as we talked about multiple different times on this YouTube channel, right here on this channel, the Young Turks have been pushing the idea that Kyle Rittenhouse is a cold-blooded murderer. And in recent weeks, they've actually done this crazy thing that a news outlet should have done day one, and that is watch the videos as presented in the trial and realize that literally everything they've been saying about this case is a total lie. Anna Kasparian recently had a mea culpa moment.
Now, what really mattered to me was how all of this unfolded. What was the thing that sparked it? What started all of it? And initially, I was under the assumption that Rittenhouse was the person who was chasing after Joseph Rosenbaum, that's how it had started. But I was wrong about that. Okay, so I want to correct the record. I was, in fact, wrong about that.
Where she acknowledged that she was spreading such devastating, ridiculous misinformation that it was not alleged by anybody, yet it appeared on the Young Turks channel unchallenged by both Cenk and Anna. Now, a lot of people decided that TYT gets a little bit of credit because they produced a retraction. We did a video response to that over here at this channel, and by we, I mean me, but I'm including you because I'm friendly like that. And we talked about how Anna Kasparian's retraction, her correction, actually contained more inaccuracies than the original video. We also talked about how these videos were available day one. Within 15 minutes of the event, they were posted on Twitter, and Anna Kasparian had absolutely no excuse for thinking the opposite of what actually happened when it was caught on those videos. But that is neither here nor there, or as the professionals like to say, that is neither nya nor nya, because it's not just the Young Turks that have been lying about the case. If you go to any left-wing media channel, if you go on social media, on Twitter, any of these apps, you will see ridiculous misrepresentations of fact that are in no way connected to reality. However, the Young Turks, I think, is one of the worst contributors of this, because even after they did their retraction, even after they acknowledged that they're horrible, embarrassing reporters that didn't even bother to fact check the basic information that was available day one, they're still producing content talking about how Kyle Rittenhouse is morally guilty and how he attacked people for throwing a plastic bag at them. Now, this is the video that we're going to be talking about. We're not going to do a frame-by-frame analysis of this video like we've been doing recently on this channel. I want to get you guys out of here, back to your family, back to your kids, so we don't really need to get bogged down in this. But I think it's incredibly important that we learn that the Young Turks still don't know the basics of this case and are still reporting that they're only just now acknowledging that videos of these events that have existed since 15 minutes after the incident are actually real and show what they actually show. Listen to Cenk describe something as new information that you guys know for a fact is not new information.
Okay, so there are two separate issues here. One is the actual criminal case. Does he have good defense for self-defense? The other is a moral component of the story. Who's right, who's wrong morally? So on the shooting of Grosskreutz, he's going to have a very good self-defense case, right? So I'm not positive that picture is that you could tell from that angle that he's pointing it directly at Rittenhouse. It looks that way in the picture, but every picture is slightly misleading because of the moment that it's taken, and you can't tell which way his arm is moving and exactly which way it points. But honestly, it's irrelevant, okay? That right there is good enough, and the testimony is good enough, very likely for Rittenhouse to get off on that charge, okay? And I would say rightfully so. Okay, now let's go to the second part, the moral part. To me, it's as clear as it always was. There's only one fact here that's different than what I knew before, which is that today Grosskreutz said basically that the gun was pointing near Rittenhouse or at Rittenhouse, right? So there's a little tiny bit of confusion there, but it's not material. So that's new, right? And in the videos that we saw originally, it was not clear that Grosskreutz, to me at least, had a weapon. So that's all new stuff.
So right off the bat, even though he struggles with it, Cenk acknowledges that at least the jury would be able to see that Gage Grosskreutz pointed his pistol at Kyle Rittenhouse's head. Now he's like, the photo might be deceptive, but honestly, this might not matter. I think that this might be enough for Kyle Rittenhouse to get off on this charge because, you know, the guy pointed the gun at him. And it's actually much worse than Cenk is implying because Cenk is a liar. He doesn't want to give you the real information. He's instead interested in stirring up hysteria because we know, based on the video, that again was released day one, that Gage Grosskreutz faked a surrender and then went to point the gun at Kyle Rittenhouse's head. So Kyle, in a bang-bang situation, acted with precision and accuracy to get himself out of that situation. However, what I want to focus on is, again, the Young Turks showing their hand that they never pay attention to any of the information. They just blindly lied about the Rittenhouse case, despite the fact that this video evidence, again, was available immediately after. Listen to Cenk talk about how this gun is new information.
So that's new, right? And in the videos that we saw originally, it was not clear that Grosskreutz, to me at least, had a weapon. So that's all new stuff.
Cenk, it's not new information. People have been pointing this out to you in your comment sections on Twitter. Everywhere you've gone out and lied about this case, that Gage Grosskreutz pointed this gun at Kyle Rittenhouse. What's interesting about this pointing of the gun at Kyle Rittenhouse is throughout these videos, the Young Turks has emphasized that Kyle Rittenhouse had an illegal gun. It turns out that even the prosecution acknowledges that under Wisconsin state law, the gun that Rittenhouse was carrying was in fact illegal. Gage Grosskreutz, however, had an illegal concealed gun. That's the gun that he's pointing at Kyle Rittenhouse. So all of a sudden, we never hear about this illegal gun. Even at this point in the Young Turks doing their coverage of this, the charges weren't dismissed for Rittenhouse, but we knew for a fact that Gage Grosskreutz' permit was expired. We knew he was illegally concealing the gun, and we knew that the prosecution, for some unknown reason, wasn't charging him with this crime that he obviously committed, and there's video evidence of this. But the Young Turks never mentions that, and they never go over it, and then they pretend like this is completely new information that Gage Grosskreutz pointed a gun when we've all known this since right after the shooting. When we first heard about the shooting, this was the video that was released first, and we knew that Gage had a gun. There were photos of him, and I'm not going to show you anything gory after the incident, where he was still holding the gun because he couldn't release the gun. It was in his hand, he was ready to roll, it was an illegal gun, he chased down Rittenhouse, pointed it at him, and that's why he was shot. Clear and obvious self-defense, known from day one, but the Young Turks treats it like new information. They treat it like, oh, I never even heard this before. What even am I? A media outlet? Am I supposed to fact check? What even is fact checking?
There's a couple things that are clear in terms of Rosenbaum. He had just gotten out of a mental health clinic, and he did rush at Rittenhouse, and he threw a plastic bag at him with things in it, right? And there was a gunshot nearby. So Rittenhouse is going to have a self-defense case there too. It doesn't mean he's going to win on that one. If somebody throws a plastic bag at you and you hear a gunshot, I don't know, a lot of people might say, yeah, that's definitely self-defense. And a lot of people would say, no, it's a plastic bag, and he had no idea whether somebody was shooting at him or not. His back was turned to Rosenbaum. He had no idea if Rosenbaum had a gun, but he shot him 4 times anyway.
Now, what's great about this is even the prosecution isn't arguing this stupid point that Cenk brought up. Cenk is making the case that Kyle Rittenhouse and the right wing would argue that there's a legitimate case for self-defense if somebody throws a plastic bag at you. This was never brought up, this was never argued, this was never a point of contention, but Cenk, in his mind, still, even though they've acknowledged that they were lying and lying by omission and embarrassing as a news organization in terms of the Rittenhouse case, can't acknowledge the facts that Rosenbaum lunged for Kyle's gun, and that's why he was shot. If you are carrying a gun that is the most noticeable thing about you, and somebody is chasing you down, and they clearly acknowledge the gun, and they still reach out for it, you as a gun owner have to assume that that person has nefarious purpose. They are acknowledging that you have a gun, they can clearly see it, and they're still making moves despite the fact that you have that deterrent factor, meaning that they have a plan for that gun. That is why Kyle Rittenhouse is subject to self-defense protections under the Joseph Rosenbaum attack on him.
Right, and then in terms of Huber, this one we knew all along. Huber hit him with a skateboard, and I've always thought, no, I would never murder someone for hitting me with a skateboard, right?
So Anthony Huber not only attacked Kyle Rittenhouse without any cause. Kyle Rittenhouse was running away. He was running towards the police line. He was not in any way an active shooter. He not only hit Kyle Rittenhouse with the skateboard multiple different times, but he actually was grabbing the gun. Again, he's trying to take your gun away from you. It's the most obvious thing about you. You have to acknowledge when somebody tries to do that, that they possibly have a plan for that gun. That is why Anthony Huber's case is 100% a case of self-defense. Don't chase down, attack, and mob up on somebody if you don't expect negative consequences against you. They had no right to do what they did. They had no basis to do what they did. Kyle Rittenhouse, again, was not an active shooter. He told people he was running towards the police. He was clearly running towards the police. At no point did Kyle, before he hit the ground, turn around and fire at any of these people. So they had no case. It's a clear and obvious self-defense case, and Cenk's idiotic position that I would never murder somebody for hitting me with the skateboard. Yeah, because it's not murder, it's self-defense, obviously. And it wasn't just attacking him with the skateboard. It was the multiple attackers and Hubert trying to take the gun. Also, if you're trying to disarm somebody, maybe don't stick the gun right in your chest.
On the moral issue, it is not at all impactful. The guy goes into a situation that could be volatile with a weapon. Everyone who was there with a weapon that was on the right-wing side was looking for trouble. They couldn't wait for trouble. They couldn't wait to use their weapons. Like the stores that they're theoretically guarding, they don't know anything about. They're from different states, it's not their community. And the stores are boarded up. The owners aren't there, they aren't protecting anyone. They just can't wait to shoot.
So now that Cenk has completely shredded everything that he's covered on the Young Turks for years, admitted that he didn't even bother to watch the videos, he starts talking about Kyle Rittenhouse's moral guilt. And listen to the keywords that Cenk said. He said, everyone there with a weapon that's on the right wing is looking to shoot somebody. They're looking to attack somebody. They have no moral reason to be there. He talks about Kyle Rittenhouse not being from the area. Again, Kyle Rittenhouse's dad lives in Kenosha. Kyle Rittenhouse worked in Kenosha. His best friend lived in Kenosha, who was also dating his girlfriend. He knew the area. This was his community. And the argument that Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines is not going to work. Roll the compilation.
Who crossed state lines. He drove from Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, again, he drove from Illinois to Wisconsin. It's not like he was in his front yard And he was approached by a group of individuals who posed an imminent threat to his life. He drove across state lines in a state that he doesn't even live in, and then he crossed state lines with it. He crossed state lines, meaning he traveled across state lines. He traveled there from out of state, who again traveled across state lines.
What Rittenhouse was doing. So in terms of sympathy, do you have any sympathy for Rittenhouse? Zero, zero. He's a terrible person who did a terrible thing. He went into the middle of that protest looking for trouble. He found it, and the minute someone threw a plastic bag at him, he started killing people.
So what is the point of Cenk doing this? What's the point of this song and dance, this moral outrage, this talking about how the right wing are just looking to kill people and how the law is on their side and supports them killing people? It's obvious that Cenk is trying to gin up hysteria, gin up anger, gin up hatred, because Cenk has all of that in him. We know, based on the facts of the case, that the judge, everything involved in this, has been fair. Kyle Rittenhouse 100% acted in self-defense, and if you actually paid attention, as broken down in my previous videos, to the judge's rulings, his thing about propensity evidence actually benefits the prosecution way more than it benefits the defense, because all this talk about Kyle Rittenhouse hanging out with the Proud Boys after the fact, which is not evidence, and Kyle Rittenhouse a couple weeks before saying he wished he had his AR when watching looters, which is also not evidence, would not do anything against Joseph Rosenbaum's multiple time convictions for the molestation of young boys. If you hear that somebody's a pedo, you're not going to have sympathy for him, and the judge excluded that, which helps the prosecution in their ability to paint Rosenbaum as a victim. On top of that, Huber has domestic violence issues in his past, convictions, etc., and Gage Grosskreutz was arrested for armed burglary. So all of these people have way worse crimes under their radar than Kyle Rittenhouse's non-crimes. And Cenk is still talking about the judge being biased in his favor because Cenk is trying to say the whole system's against you. Get out there in the streets. They're going to be able to kill you without anything being able to stop them, even though this whole criminal trial in an obvious case of self-defense is meant to put the clamp down on the right wing because it's politically motivated. There are crimes throughout this that are not charged. Zeminski fired shots into the air, not in dispute. The prosecution did not charge. Again, Gage Grosskreutz, illegal concealed weapon, not in dispute, not charged by the prosecution. In fact, the prosecution refused to download the information on Gage's phone due to their explanation of maybe Marsy's Law having an impact, which is ridiculous because you can easily make the case, and by the way, you'd actually be accurate if you made the case, that Gage is guilty of felony assault for pointing that weapon without cause at Kyle Rittenhouse's head. On top of that, Richie McGinnis, the other person that the state is complaining on behalf of, and a member of the media, had his phone downloaded by the prosecution. That is somebody that the defense is not alleging is a perpetrator, so Marsy's Law, if it applied to anybody, would apply to him most of all, and the prosecution downloaded his phone because, again, there's political bias in the way that they're prosecuting this case. But Cenk doesn't want to tell you that. Cenk wants to lie to you, and listen to Cenk lie to your face about what the judge ruled yet again.
So whether he is found criminally liable for that is going to be a matter of all of the evidence in the state jurisprudence and direction that the judge gives, etc. And by the way, the judge is still wrong. He said that these guys must be called rioters, looters, and arsonists. One of them was a paramedic. There's no evidence that any of the victims were rioters or arsonists or looters. The judge is almost lying there by allowing that.
So you like how this evolves? You like this game of telephone? We've covered this multiple different times on this channel, but the judge did not rule that you must call the victims. First of all, they're not victims, they're aggressors in this situation. It's basic law that in a self-defense case, you don't refer to the alleged victims as actual victims, but Cenk doesn't know that. Cenk doesn't understand that. Cenk doesn't care about that, but that would be inconvenient for the narrative that Cenk's trying to spin. But the idea that the judge in any way said you must call them looters, rioters, and arsonists is just false. As we've gone over, the judge said you can also refer to them as protesters, you can also refer to them as unarmed people, you can refer to them in anything but victims because their victimhood is what is being adjudicated. On top of that, there is evidence of these people being arsonists. Video was introduced in the trial of Joseph Rosenbaum, by the way, available publicly for the longest time, pushing a flaming dumpster towards the gas station. Multiple different times, there were instances of Rosenbaum around fires, lighting fires, and he got mad at Kyle in part because he was running with the fire extinguisher to put out a fire. Rosenbaum ambushed him. He was a rioter. These people were rioters. It's caught on video, and the judge said you would have to prove it, at least to a certain degree, in order for you to allege it in the court. the defense met that obligation. But again, the prosecution is totally allowed to call them protesters. They can call them Black Lives Matter protesters, civil rights protesters, all this insane nonsense. But Cenk doesn't want to tell you that. He's just going to lie and then say Kyle just opened fire into a crowd after somebody threw a plastic bag. These people have no honor, they have no integrity, and they don't even have the basics of the media to vaguely look for facts. They don't have any journalistic acumen, because all this information that I've delivered to you has been available from the jump. Rosenbaum charging Kyle Rittenhouse, by the way, was in the prosecution's own charging document. These weren't facts that were in dispute, yet the Young Turks is misconstruing them and getting outraged over them and pretending, after watching months of unparalleled destruction and left-wing terror from BLM and Antifa, that somehow the police, the prosecution, the establishment is promoting right-wing violence. Where are all the adjudications and prosecutions due to the Black Lives Matter riots? Remember when people get arrested and they see, wow, thousands of people got arrested for $3 billion worth of damage, so I guess you can't say that there's no bias against BLM. And then these people were released immediately without charges, and they would announce that honestly, it was kind of even racist for us to stop these people from looting, rioting, and beating people in the streets, so we're going to release them without charges. The only person, or one of the very few people, that have experienced consequences as the result of their actions, despite their actions being 100% justified, is Kyle Rittenhouse, and yet Cenk is trying to tell you the opposite. Cenk, who, let us not forget, supported the Portland shooter Michael Reinhold against Jay Danielson on his channel, despite video evidence showing Michael Reinhold stalk and murder Jay Danielson. That's who Cenk is. He supports left-wing violence, he lies about right-wing self-defense, and he's just trying to gin up hysteria, turn up the temperature in this country because he wants to report more on it. He's excited by it. That's the kind of person he is, and it's disgusting. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, you show me by leaving a like. You subscribe for more content. Follow me on my social media. Support me via the support links in the description box. This has been me talking about TYT's lies. Till next time.